everyone, it's Vic from @Forever Scrapping, sharing a process video using the 5th and Monaco collection for Lottie Loves Paper. Now in the collection there is this gorgeous budgie paper. It's really beautiful and I wasn't quite sure how to use it, but then I had an idea about using my Mr. Biscuit. He's featuring on quite a lot of my layouts at the moment. So I printed a large photo of him in black and white and then cut around him so that I was just using him on the layout rather than a whole photo. And because, as I've said before, this collection is perfect for those of you who love to fussy cut, I fussy cut lots of leaves out of the big sheet of paper. My idea was that he would be looking up at a budgie or a bird in the top right hand corner, so I dusted off my big shot and used one of the dies that I had to cut out this bird shape with the green paper that I'd used on the previous layout that reminded me of bird feathers. So I've backed that onto some white cardstock because I didn't feel that it stood out enough from that budgie background paper. So thought by backing it and having a bit of a white space around it, it would stand out a little bit more on my layout. So I'm liking how it's looking. It's right up my street, this, with all the fussy cutting, and I found it really therapeutic to cut all of it out. I think fussy cutting is a bit like Marmite. You either love it or hate it, and I actually really enjoy it. So yes, so I had great fun creating this. I wanted to create the idea that Biscuit was sat amongst the flower bed in the garden, doing what he loves best, watching the birds and the bees and the butterflies. But yeah, so that was the idea, and then the photo that I had was perfect because it was looking up at that top corner at my bird that I was going to create. So just decided that I'm definitely happy with how I'd segmented my layout. I have again just cut a little bit, I think about 2 centimeters off of the sides of my backing papers there, just so that when I stick it on my white cardstock, I've already created quite a nice little white frame around my layout. So as you can see, I was just sort of lining everything up there. This did take quite a long time of me faffing around, moving bits of paper around the leaves that I'd fussy cut as well. I just wanted to make sure I'd got it right, and it really did look like he was hiding in the bushes. So I just think there's so many possibilities with this collection. I think so far this is my 3rd layout I've created with it, and each layout has been completely different, so it's nice that you can adapt it to different styles of scrapbooking. So still manoeuvring bits around. Now I'm not the sort of scrapper to stick things down as I go along. I'm always worried that if I stick something down that then I'll want to move it and I'm not going to be able to. So now I'm going through the task of trying to just pop a little dab of glue behind some of those fussy cut leaves to hold them in place on my layout. Because I still haven't actually, I don't think I have stuck it down yet, but that black and white background paper that Biscuit is on and the leaves are on, I haven't even stuck that onto the page yet, which was really silly. I should have stuck that down to start with and then done the leaves. So I just didn't want to lose the placings of everything. So you don't need to pop a lot of glue down on those bits, it's just literally just to hold them slightly in place, because once I was happy with where everything was and I'd just tacked them down a little bit, I actually ran it through my sewing machine. So I sewed over some of those leaves just to add a little bit of added texture. So just deciding where I'd like biscuit now. So now I've put most of the leaves in place, I can just slide him out and then slide him back in again. I was really pleased with how he was looking on the page. There we go. So now everything's tacked down, I can finally stick that piece of backing paper down. Really did it higgledy-piggledy. And I do like to make my life difficult sometimes with scrapbooking. I just sort of get carried away and self-absorbed in what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I've got to stick it all down. I don't know if anyone else scraps like that, but yeah, I can be a bit chaotic sometimes. So just also raising up a few of those leaves with some of the kids' sticky back foam, just again to add a little bit more dimension and not make the page so flat looking. It did take quite a while to make sure that I was happy with everything. But I think this is what I enjoy about scrapbooking the most. I quite like cutting up lots of bits of paper and then recreating them into my own little scene. I like that kind of artsy side to it. So I think I've machine stitched some of those leaves now, so I'm just deciding where I'm going to put that bird. It still wasn't standing out really from that background budgie paper, so I thought by putting a pop of pink behind it or some other colours, then hopefully it would lift that bird off the page a bit more. And I also spent ages as well wondering how I was actually going to ground that bird. So you can see I've put some pink labels there, which come from the ephemera kit. They'd be perfect for your scrapbook page, but also for like travel notes. Is that what they call them? Travel planners? So I didn't want the numbers on them showing, so I've flipped them upside down and then hiding the numbers with my bird. And I also loved, in the ephemera kit there was a budgie as well, so I've tucked that in amongst my foliage down the bottom left hand corner, and I also fussy cut out a few of the budgies from that background budgie paper later to dot around my page. It was just wanted to have like a bit of a fun feel to it, so I had so much fun putting this all together and playing. So because I've got the pink now underneath that bird up the top right hand corner, I decided I needed some pink on the bottom of my layout. It was all looking a bit green and blue, so I had to balance it out. So fussy cut some more flowers and added those onto the bottom of the page just to balance it all out. And then my title for this page was from, is it Tweety Pie? The old cartoons from when I was in my childhood, Sylvester and Tweety Pie. And he used to say, this little canary used to say, I taught I tore a puddy cat, I did, I did, I did. So I'm using the really nice thickers from the collection. They've got like a gold line for each letter going through the middle of them. using my ruler there just to make sure that I'm definitely putting them all down straight on my layout, and that black really pops out off of the page. I was going to use some papers for it, but decided they'd get lost a bit, so these thickers were perfect for it, and it also then tied in nicely with the black and white monochrome background paper I had at the bottom of the page. It was all just trying to sort of like make sure that it was all well balanced. And then I once I'd stuck this title down, I did run it through the sewing machine just to make sure that those alphabet thickers don't fall off. So I applied a little bit of gesso to that bottom background paper, because I thought if I put my journaling straight on it, it would get lost a bit. So by applying the gesso first, I could make sure that it definitely stood out from the background paper and you could read it. So just adding those pops of pink flowers now down at the bottom of the layout, and extending that foliage out a little bit along the bottom there, just so that it balances and ties in nicely with the top of the page.